All right, we are here at Chicago Auto Pros Car Supplies Warehouse,
the Creator Summit event.
And there's a lot of people here. And I only asked a few of them to do podcasts. One of them is Brian Spiller from Apex Auto Detail. Auto Spa? What is the name of your business?
Apex Detail, also known as Apex Auto Surface Protection or Blue Collar.
Blue Collar. You've had such an evolution, and I think you've succeeded through consistency and being an honest detailer.
Persistency.
Persistency,
I don't give up. Yeah.
not consistency.
Well, a little bit of both, maybe. But persistency was the key for me. You never give up no matter what. Even keel. The highs are never too high, lows are never too low. Keep pushing forward.
One thing I didn't realize about you is that you had a stroke.
Yes.
When did this happen?
4 or 5 years ago, I was eating dinner and I went to get my next bite of food and nothing happened. So I looked down and my hand was dangling there with the spoon laying on the floor. Turned to my son to say, look at this, and all that came out was, So the words were forming in my head, but they didn't make it down to the mouth, and that's when we knew something was seriously wrong. So my son called for the ER and the ambulance. By the time it got there, I believe my adrenaline alone pushed the blockage through, and the residuals were going away except for speech. So that's a great segment into how I started the channel. I was still having trouble with speech. I was still rehabbing it. And my son wanted to start a channel for gaming, but he was too shy. Get in front of the camera like we are here, or even behind it with a small, little stamped picture of yourself, and just do a voiceover. He wouldn't do that. So I was like, listen, if I can do it, you can do it. I started making connections with gentlemen such as this and Ivan and a lot of great people out there, and I haven't looked back since. It's been great.
So we're chatting here on the Hawk Talk channel. I've got DIY Detail is the business I own with Ivan, but I've just been watching you for so long, and you started your YouTube channel to show your son that I can do it, so can you?
Anxiety, recent stroke, speech problems, just overall an invert and shy person. I wanted to show him I could do this so he could do it. And of course, he went on to better things and other outlets. And I continued with this because of the connections such as yourself and all the other great people out there.
5 years ago, if you had thought to yourself, I'm going to have more than 100,000 YouTube subscribers and my own product line and be invited to a summit like this with all these great people, maybe the summit part, you're part of the industry, but I mean, what would your 5-year-old self have thought of that?
I still kind of, I'm a little shocked by it. The number of subscribers, it's so easy to say this, but I don't pay so much attention to that. It's the people that I can reach and come up and thank that I may have helped from some nugget within my videos here and there. That's what resonates with me and sticks with me, and that's what I'll keep track of rather than other numbers like that. So,
which I feel like as a human, it's easier to think of it in that way, right? The numbers, how do you even define what that is? But
I can't, because if I'm thinking that there's 130,000 people looking through that camera or watching through that camera, that's where my anxiety kicks in. So it's a trick I taught myself.
Just talk to the camera as if it's a person.
Talk to the camera as if they're right in front of me, and that's actually how my videos have succeeded. The audience believes they're with me walking through the shop, and I'm just explaining this to them one-on-one.
Your personality is very even-keeled. You're not in your face, super animated, wild and crazy, and I think when you look at the numbers, you've just been you. Like, can you just talk about how you grew to 130,000 subscribers, your own product line? Like, you don't have formal broadcast training, which I do, so I was on TV for all these years. Like, you've succeeded despite all of those things. And I just people respect your honesty. Like, they just appreciate you telling it like it is. Yeah. You're not a jerk about it.
I am laid back and even keeled, reserved, inverted, or whatever word you want to call it. I am reserved. But when it comes to a point, helping people through videos, I just push through it and do what I have to do. And that perseverance of pushing through is how I got to where I started to where I am today, and it's just the beginning where I'm at today. So I'm not a young person anymore, and I realize that. But my work ethic hasn't changed now that I've gotten older since when I was younger. I've had to start over a couple times because of circumstances of my life. So this is my first rodeo. I know what it takes to get it done.
Your name of your coating or product line is Blue Collar.
The coating line is Blue Collar, and I had started off with an Apex surface protection with a co-op with Art to Shine. You probably remember that. That was a 1.5-year co-op where I got to learn behind the scenes, work with a sophisticated lab and top-notch chemists for about 1.5 years, and I came up with a line. When that expired, I incidentally ran into a customer that was a chemist, and he's now my chemist. I now have a line on my own where I can tweak it and do things the way I want to do it with the help and feedback of many out there that are trying it, using it, and I appreciate that.
Well, I want to get right into talking about clear coat, because this is what, at dinner the other night, I was like, I got to get you on the podcast. Hawk Talk, episode 6, 7, not sure yet, but it's a new venture, but I just love talking about this stuff. I look at you and I remember your old videos where you're doing like the compound showdowns, right? Which one is going to be the highest cutting compound? And you always had a rotary in your hand. You were using, I feel like you've used all these random products I've never heard of. Like you just used it all, and I trust you. That's the vibe that I get from you. And yet recently you said, you're just doing single steps now. So can you talk about the evolution of what you do in your shop and talk about clear coat these days?
Well, clear coat is the reason we are evolving, and we have to evolve. You barely get 2 mils of clear coat on a car these days. So it's the thickness of the clear coat, and we are transitioning to a solvent-based clear coat to a water-based clear coat. The transition isn't complete. We're only at about 60%. And even at that small movement there, 40%, the clear coat has gone way thinner, a lot softer, and before you even apply a pad to the surface, you're almost removing too much. So there has to be an adjustment there. Back in the day, during the timeline of the video you watched, we were doing a lot of multi-step corrections and wet sanding even.
On OEM paint?
Yeah. And
that wasn't that long ago.
That wasn't that long ago. But since 2020, you have to change and go with the times. The times are calling for different types of clear coat, so we had to adjust. You mentioned one steps. We're doing more enhancements than one step. So there.
Tell me the difference.
So an enhancement, you're finding a very light, non-aggressive pad and a cleaner polish, and you're just cleaning up, exfoliating the paint. You're not worrying about blemishes. You're not going past something, letting it catch your attention and going back to it. You're going and doing a crisscross pattern and moving on no matter what.
You're just like, okay, my standard operating procedure is up, down, left, right, up, down, whatever it is.
All the way
you're
around.
just doing it. You're not being like, well, I'm going to stop and hang out and try to get this.
I see something back here. I'm going to go back and get it. And that's more like a one-step, where you're going back and working on blemishes a little bit deeper. But an enhancement, you're going to keep moving.
You know, I'm a little starstruck. We got Pan the organizer here, Chelsea from Attention to Details. I wish you could see this. Let's get Pan in here.
Sorry, everyone.
No, I wanted to show the people. This is the energy around
And
here.
you wonder why I do this. It's because of gentlemen like Pan and Chelsea, and getting to work with them, work next to them, and be influenced by them.
Isn't it so cool that they're all here?
Yeah.
But back to, so you're more enhanced. Is that because you're fancy pants and you're a big deal on YouTube and you only get the brand new cars, or like, how do you approach
Well, I wish that
customer?
was,
No, I mean, but people are going to think that, right? Everyone thinks, if only I had this, if only I were in this shop, if only my life were, then I would have it all, or whatever. If only then, right? All these hypotheticals. What's the real world for you? I mean, what could I actually offer enhancements on or one steps on? Because it's one thing to talk about this and to hear it in trainings, and then you get that car and you're like, oh, I got to go after everything. That was my mentality.
We get everything from the supercar, the classic, the collectible, to the daily driver. We prefer the new daily driver because they need protection too. And those owners are just as enthusiastic. Ford Maverick pickup truck, that owner is just as enthusiastic about that as a Lamborghini owner is, both coming to us. but we prefer the everyday driver. There's more of them, and we're familiar with all the vehicles, and we have to approach them all pretty much the same way, no matter who they are.
What do you still like about working on cars?
Being around them. I wake up in the morning, and depending on what we have in the shop, I still have butterflies in the stomach to get in there and start working on it and be around cars. I've had quite a few now in my older age. I have a checklist. But even having said that, I enjoy being around the daily driver, to the supercar, to the sports car, classic, antique. Once it's in your blood, you never lose it.
It being love for cars?
Love for cars and detailing.
Because I love cleaning cars, but I've never been a gearhead or a car person, which puts me in like a really weird place, and a lot of people I wouldn't tell that to, but I just admit it now because I just like to be honest and be who I am. I just love cleaning them. I love making them super shiny.
Well, that process is now in your blood.
Yep.
Try to get away from it now.
I can't. And no matter what happens in life, still having that ability to do it, I think, is a bit of a superpower.
Yes.
Whether
It's
we're doing
definitely
the
a bonus.
detail line full time or detail shop or detailing, occasionally. And I wonder, what do you want people out there who are interested in painting? Sorry, lots of folks are walking through. Interested in paint correction and cars. What do you want them to know about? Man, my brain's getting fried. I just saw all these people walking in.
Doesn't
It's
matter.
been a
That's
long
what the
couple
edit
days.
button.
No, we're not going to edit. It's a podcast. But I don't know. What do you want people to know about? You just talked to a bunch of random strangers who probably adore you. What do you want to resonate with them right now?
Oh, I want them to know it doesn't matter what you own. If you have a passion to show off your vehicle, you want to clean it, you want to polish it, make it look the best you can, there's a lot of benefits from that. From if you have afflictions like OCD, like I have, and anxiety, you can use that as an outlet to work it out of your system. Go home at the end of the day, or when you're done working on your car in your garage, relax. The satisfaction when you're finished, from when you start to where you finished, coming through the other end looking brand new. There's nothing like taking a deep breath at the end of the day, sit back and look at your car. Just sit in the garage, crack open a beer, look at the car, enjoy it, and that satisfaction it's bliss to a lot of people. Still is to me.
Still is.
Still.
It feels great when you finish a vehicle and you're just like, I did that.
Yeah.
I did that.
I didn't need anybody's help. That was all me.
Should you wet sand OEM paint in 2023?
Yes and no. Wet sanding to remove texture? Absolutely not. There's not enough of it. Wet sanding to remove imperfections. It will help improve imperfections without spiking temperatures. So you could do it two ways. You could grab a polisher and just keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth in the same area. Or you can wet sand, get it over with quickly and not spike temperatures. So look at it this way: if you have a panel and you have an imperfection on a little spot of the panel and you're going back and forth, you're spiking it up to 120, 130 degrees. The ambient temperature of the rest of the panel could be 72. And that stress between the difference of the two is huge, and it's a lot of stress, and it can cause damage. Why? There's 3 layers on that panel. There's a primer layer, there's a color layer, and there's also a clear coat. And they both are made of different materials and expand and contract with heat and coolness different ways. And if you're just concentrated in one area with a polisher and heating it up, that could you can run into some trouble. It's too much stress for the clear coat, where wet sanding will cut that out.
Do you ever dual action sand, or do you prefer to hand sand?
Always hand sand. I have a better feel. I never use a machine to sand. It takes the tactical feedback from it away from me. And I've been doing it so long, I can tell I can close my eyes and put earbuds in, and I know what I'm doing.
How do you refine? I feel like I sometimes gouge when I'm hand sanding, and then it's like, oh, I have to get these out again. Like, do you just like step it back multiple times before you hit it with a polisher, or do you just compound the crap out of your 2K sand marks?
No, you can. The trick is the Trizac disc, because you have a sanding platform with an interface of foam. It doesn't matter how hard and light you push, or if you have the block tilted, the give of the foam will always keep that sandpaper surface flat on the panel, and you'll sand smoothly. So they're not cheap. But
They wear out kind of fast, I feel like, too.
they do. I always have mine soaking in a bucket ready to go. Rupes has their own version with the foam interface. It's like a nylon face to it. So
The
I'm not
red
sure.
face,
Yeah.
is it still those ones?
Yeah, they work as well.
Yeah, I like the Trizac better.
So do I.
But, I'm not here to diss brands. Look at all these fancy brands behind us here at Chicago Auto Pros. So do you step back? So when you sand like 2,000, are you going to step it back and then do 3K, or are you going to try to compound it out?
I always start with 3K first, because if I'm successful that way, and I'll do a test spot.
But you'll start sanding with 3K?
Always with 3K, no matter how bad the imperfection is, because if it gets the job done, I've done it with the least aggressive disc I have. I do have 4 or 5K, but I hardly touch them. But with 3,000, you can finish out with a very soft finishing pad and a non-aggressive polish, and it will remove those sand marks quickly.
But you can really gouge in 3K if you're not technically savvy. Like I've done it where I'm trying to be a hero with 3K in my KXK block, and I can leave some divots.
Well, that's where the blocks instead of the foam discs, you're putting a sheet over a block. That's always going to be more aggressive. If you're putting a foam disc on a nice foam a palm block, there's so much give there.
So you like the palm block?
Palm block with the foam interface disc.
Where do I find this palm block?
You can make them yourself. You can go to a craft store and get foam and trim it into a circle and glue the hook and loop part of a Velcro sheet, and they have them in there. Everything they have is in there, the glue including. And you have a block, and then you can put the disc onto it.
What's the foam you're making it out of, though?
Any foam you can find. Just so it's soft, and when you grip it, it's comfortable.
So if I got like a stress ball, like one of those,
You could
cut it in half?
You could chop it in half, and you have a flat surface for your pad.
That's amazing advice. So maybe the block and the thing, that's too aggressive. Just try palm sanding.
Well, to a lot of people, that's what they're used to. I think it's too aggressive for my technique, because there's no give whatsoever. You have transfer of all that energy going from the block right to the sheet, to the surface, with nothing buffing it.
So technique is of utmost importance.
Yeah, and everybody has their own technique, so there's no wrong answer. The block is fine. And
Yeah. This is awesome, man. Do you do trainings?
3 times a year, 4 times a year we try. It's been difficult this year because of the room we have in the shop, but we do offer that. It's a weekend course, Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We cover everything from the business end to PPF and wet sanding and coatings and all that. Everything in between.
What's your go-to buffing liquid?
I don't have a go-to. I use
compound
3D a lot
polish?
in my videos.
3D1?
3D ACA 500, 3D 520 finishing, 3D1. The DIY gold standard. My guys have been reaching for that on a daily basis. We have that, and then we surround ourselves with a myriad of different pads, and that's all you need. Just adjust the pad to go with the gold standard. You don't need 12 different polishes with that system. So
No, I mean,
I'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you for, telling us about it. We've had some people like Jason Kilmer, Mike Phillips from AutoForge, but from 3D and Autopia or Auto Geek Days, like big names in the industry. Yourself saying that they like the gold standard polish. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm also trying to stay as agnostic as I can in this podcast, and I don't care. We'll talk about whatever products you want. And man, that's so interesting. Well, hey. It's been so awesome chatting with you. I hope it's not the last time we do that. And
I bet it's not going to be, because I had a great time. It was. I'm honored you had me join you and your audience.
Earlier I said kind of jokingly, well, there's only a few people I chose. It's like, there's lots of amazing people here. I just remember chatting with you at dinner about going from solvent to waterborne clear.
Yep. Yeah, so we're going
what
through
that means exactly. And I was like, I got to talk to Brian.
Yeah, and we're going through EPA standards of California, and they have the standards of cutting back volatile chemicals, not only for the user that apply them, but for the environment that they're called forever. Some of these are called forever chemicals. Once they're introduced to the environment, they don't break down, and they're around forever. So I understand you.
Pleasure meeting you, man.
You too, brother. Yeah.
Excellent job.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you. Nice meeting both of you.
Absolutely.
And I hope it happens again.
You going out tonight?
I think we may. Yeah.
I might be able to muster up a little bit of energy.
We're all gonna go out, so if you're listening to this podcast now,
You're in the
just know
podcast now.
that
Come on
this
in.
would be- get in here.
Be there.
All right, so we had Brian here. A great weekend. Plug. What's going on? Chicago Auto Pros, Car Supplies Warehouse.
We're introducing everyone to the bays at Car Supplies Warehouse. It's our self-service detailing bays, and we're getting all the right people in the industry together to talk about content. So we're trying to connect people, we're trying to make the industry a little more professional, and we're trying to show everyone what we're doing here at the bays in Romeoville.
Heck yeah. All right, guys. Well, there you have it.
Sorry for interrupting your video.